Welcome to episode 22 of Bloggers Are Weird. I am your host, DJ Paris, blogger extraordinaire from the blog thoughtsfromparis.com. Always wanted to call myself extraordinaire because I always like to think of myself as extraordinary. And I was out on a date last night with a woman who told me I was extraordinary. So she's getting a second date because I need that sort of validation in my life. Also, I'm author of the book, Holy Crap, Holy Crap, I'm Bathing in a Rose, which is available on Amazon.com for $2.99. And it's very funny because it was edited by my readers who made sure that it was funny. I just did the writing. They did the editing and all the hard and heavy lifting. So go pick that up. Also, this morning, I filmed with my good friend and co-host, Karen, the third episode of O-Sex, which stands for Opposite Sex. This is a video cast where we answer your sex, dating, relationship, and marriage questions right there on YouTube. So I'm really excited. That will be going live tomorrow on my blog, thoughtsfromparis.com. I also want to announce, a lot of announcements this morning, that in next weekend, in accordance with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, I am going to be doing a blogathon, which is 24 posts in 24 hours to raise money for the non-for-profit organization bandbacktogether.com, to which I am a board member. This is a great website where people relay their stories of emotional abuse, neglect, trauma, and also physical disabilities they may be suffering as a result of a number of various ailments. So please check that website out. It's a fantastic resource to learn all about particular types of emotional illness, physical illness, and also just to not feel alone. You know, we all need support. So check that out. I'm going to be doing this blogathon. Well, what does that mean? I'm going to be posting 24 times in 24 hours. Now, I'm not going to be writing 24 times in 24 hours because, quite frankly, that would be very poor quality content. But I did ask for your content. So in this particular blogathon, I am going to be posting 24 stories from you, the readers, about your issues and experiences with mental health. So I'm really excited about that. And it raises money for a great cause. And it's tax deductible and all that good stuff. So today on the show, I am interviewing myself, but I'm not really interviewing myself. It's just one of those off weeks where I don't have a guest. So in those weeks, I relay stories from my blog that I think you would like to hear. So I'm going to keep it short this week. I've got just one story to read, and it's all about falling in love with a girl, of course, who did not fall back in love with me, and who I had been pursuing for a good solid year and then got rejected. So without further ado, grab an energy drink. And I am very, very embarrassed and ashamed to admit that I have been drinking energy drinks like those douchebag teenagers. And I'm a little hyped up right now on one. But grab an energy drink or whatever your drug of choice is. Mine is energy drinks. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Today's podcast is sponsored by romance-text.com. Looking to reignite the passion in your relationship? You have to check out romance-text.com. This is how to use text messages to bring back the passion and reignite the spark you once had. Now, if you're thinking this sounds cheesy, or maybe it's just learning how to send dirty text messages, it's actually not. This program by relationship expert Michael Fiore has been featured in over 200 television and radio shows. This program has a money-back guarantee, is normally $97, but listeners of Bloggers Are Weird get a special price of only $47 for the entire program. By purchasing the program, you help support this show. Visit romance-text.com and get the passion back. I fell in love with a girl who had already seen me naked and then rejected me. The first time I met my ex-wife was on a blind date. We were set up by a coworker of hers who told me I needed to meet her friend. Since I didn't know her coworker all that well, I couldn't really ask the most important question my immature mind was thinking, which was, can you send a photo over to me beforehand? Instead, I made a comment about how I'm sure she's pretty and then she said rather, yes, she's very beautiful, do not worry. We spoke a few times on the phone and then decided it would be more fun instead of having a traditional date where I take her to dinner to make dinner together at my apartment. She agreed to bring the salad and dessert, and I would make the appetizer and main course. And by the way, I've told this story a number of times over the years, and for women, they almost always say the same thing. I would never go to a guy's house on the first date. I disagree. I've done this over a dozen times. I find that making dinner together engages a woman more into the first date and also relieves some of the pressure and awkwardness. You're just two people having fun making dinner. Plus, the bedroom is only 20 feet away should the date take an amorous turn. I know it seems like a crazy thing for a woman to go to a man's house on the first date, safety and everything, but I've never had any problem getting women to agree to it. Probably because I'm not a creep. If you're a creep, this will not work for you. I told this recently to a coworker who said she wouldn't go to a guy's place on the first date because she would think he must be cheap. But I'm not cheap, and I don't care about that either. When I start dating again, I'm going to go back to making dinner with women. It's really a lot of fun. Back to the story. I went to pick up my blind date, and since I had never seen her before, I was just hoping she'd be attractive. I know that sounds shallow, but I'm trying to be honest here. I need to date a woman who I'm attracted to. And when she came out from her condo, I was blown away. She was a perfect 10 knockout. This meant that I didn't peel away before she made it to the car. Kidding. And that was that. It was a perfect first date, and 3 years later, we married. 2 years after that, the marriage ended, but that's another story. Love at first sight has happened to me a number of times in my life, but more often than not, when I see someone that is just the perfect look, it's usually in the street and they're walking the other direction. Of course, it's not really love, it's just lining up of visuals. It's not love when you can only see their physique and face, but it really feels like love to me. Since then, I've matured, and now when I approach women, it's usually best for me to start a friendship. Turns out that's probably the healthiest way, because in the end, friendships are way more important. And if love develops, then great. When I was 23, I used to take the bus every day to work. One day at the bus stop, I saw a woman who took my breath away. She was a blonde with curls and wearing a bright red pea coat. Now, this was one of those love at first sight things. The next morning, she was there as well. I told myself that if I ever saw her again, I would have to ask her out. But then she didn't show up for like 4 months. I seriously thought about her every day as I rounded the corner to the bus stop. I was really devastated, and I thought I had missed my opportunity. The next time I saw her, I was ready. We got off the bus and happened to wind up standing next to each other. I turned around and made a stupid joke or something. She laughed and then 5 minutes later gave me her number. I can't tell you what a big deal this was to me. It's not like I asked out women every day coming off the bus, and this was my dream girl, still wearing the red pea coat too. Turns out she lived in a building directly facing mine, basically next door. We chatted once or twice on the phone, and then I announced I was coming over. I announced I was coming over. That's exactly true. That's what I did. I pulled a bottle of wine out and headed over. I didn't drink wine, but I knew enough not to bring over a pint of whiskey, but wine. She wasn't super cool with me announcing that I was coming over, but who cared? This was my dream woman. I show up at her apartment that evening, and she gives me a tour. Standard early 20s first apartment and typical feminine decor. But what interested me the most was that her window directly faced my window, which I didn't know until then. Now, she was on the 4th floor. I was on the 4th floor as well. Ever been in that situation where you're at a house that looks into your house? The first thing you do is see if you can see your stuff. And sure enough, she was directly across the way from me, right across. And I'm such a romantic moron. I actually thought this was a sign of God, that he wanted me to be in a relationship with this woman. Like God doesn't have anything better to do, like deal with AIDS or famine. I'm a moron. I pointed out to her that I lived right across the way. And again, I thought this was a good thing. She looked over at me in a startled voice and said, "That's you." Now, this is obviously a bad sign because you meant something, and probably something bad. And then I realized even though I had both blinds and curtains, I had never once closed them for any reason ever. She could look directly into my apartment and see everything. Now, here's the thing. I didn't think anyone would actually watch their neighbors, so I didn't care. If I was coming out of the shower, I would walk across the bedroom naked. Didn't close the blinds. I panned to the left and realized she could even see directly into my shower, which I had never closed the blinds to either. But then the low self-esteem part of me again thought, but nobody looks at you. People don't really do that. She said, "I've seen you naked," like a bunch of times. Now, I'm not particularly bashful or freaked out by someone seeing me naked. I even showed my genitals to my wife's waxer once, so I didn't think twice about it. No big deal. But the party had all of a sudden become tense. It was time to loosen things up. How should I take care of? I know, I'm funny. Surely she'll see I'm not some loser who just walks around his house naked. I have charisma. We started drinking the wine, but things didn't improve. She was clearly uncomfortable. I'm sure to her that it was etched into her mind that I'm the weirdo that walks around naked, or who doesn't shut the blinds because he wants people to see, or something. I just thought the whole thing to me was really funny. So we're on her couch, and I go to kiss her, which meant I was not reading the signals because her body language was screaming, "Get out!" But I had to go for it. She was that important to me. Naturally, she pulled away. My dream red peacoat girl did not want to kiss me. I was devastated. Well, sort of. Realizing that this was not going to improve, I decided it was time for me to leave. Here was the weird part. I was flying to Dallas the next day for work, and she had already told me that she would come over and feed my fish. The next day, only hours before I flew out, I received an email saying she couldn't feed my fish. I guess she was still freaked out. Now, let's recap. The guy across the way, who she had seen naked more than once, comes over to her apartment, tries to get her drunk and kiss her, and now needs her to come over and feed his fish. I tried calling her a few times over the next month, but she never returned my calls. Maybe she didn't like what she saw. Okay, guys, that is it for this week. Next week, we will have an interview with somebody really cool and a great writer who will read one of their stupid stories like me. So until then, enjoy your week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.